said I'm going to take a video of the difficulties I'm having with the Sniper EFI. Running out of fuel pressure, 20 psi max. Well, this is probably something to do with 3/8 hose on a 5/16 barb, and the EFI clamp's all the way shut. I'm thinking it's sucking air and gurgling, and I couldn't. Yeah, so anyway, do something like this on the bottom. Ching. And we should be good to go. Yeah, I put 2 hose clamps on the suction side. Regular old screw cut clamps, so it's sealed down, locked in good. You can see that. And I've got a new fill tube. It was $60 for this little set. These 2 tubes, and they come with a metal plate. It goes in between here, so when you go through the frame rail, which I'm not going to use, that squeezes it down too flat. So I'm just going to leave that thing off. And we're going to go back to the fuel command center and the mechanical pump. I got a 140 gallon per hour mechanical pump. I'm going to put that back on it, use the fuel command center, and that way I can use the same return to the tank that I was using, because that other one was kind of restrictive, caused my fuel pressure to go up. This way we'll just be returning inside the FCC. So that we're going back to the FCC, being we fixed that fuel pickup suction problem. We were sucking air to the fuel pumps with 2 different fuel systems. So now we're going to put this in. We're going to have dual and high pressure fuel lines. And I also added this go around, 140 gallon per hour. I had to index this body though, because the fittings were off, so I took that apart and indexed it. And that's the mechanical fuel pumps, 140 GPH.
I don't know what this is. Just a small part, can't be very important.
Yeah. I think we're going to run that here into our tank, surge tank. Anyway, actually it looks a lot better. I like it.
Okay. How many strokes is that?
Let's see. I can't get it good.
That says pumping pretty good.
It seems like it's got to like release for it to do anything. You go faster and it doesn't seem to. But if you just barely do it, it pumps.
Yeah.
If you can just barely push it,
Okay.
it still pumps a little bit too.
We gotta find that bore scope now.
Yeah, because we got to see if that cam's
That-
actually
that-
doing something. The cam might have like.
That cam is slipped or something.
And it's not, yeah, making any movement in there. Yeah, I gotta get the bore scope.
Because that's definitely what it is. That doesn't know what the pump works.
And look up that hole and see what the trouble is with the cam. Yikes. Very odd. No matter what happens when you run this truck for like 10 minutes, the fuel going back to the tank starts to get foamy. It doesn't matter if we're running mechanical pumps, electric pumps. With this FCC surge tank, for some reason, and I have the fuel just running straight back into a can. It's not even being reintroduced into the tank, and it's just pumping straight out of the tank to here to fill this thing up. But yet, after it gets a while, it starts to get foamy. The fuel coming back, being sent from here, starts to spit and sputter, gets foamy. I mean, it's crazy, dude. We're being able to hold pressure now for a lot longer, but I'm gonna do some modifying to this thing. Finish taking this out. Take this little filter thing out of the vent so we can get the fuel just to flow directly back. And but really, what I'm thinking about doing is just mounting that other pump that I got for the sniper. Let this little pump here feed that pump, and then run that pump just straight to the sniper for the high pressure. And let this one right here actually will pump and prime itself. So it only takes a second, it's got full flow, and that can feed the sniper pump for the high pressure going over to the sniper itself. And then I'll just run my return line back to the tank if I can't get this fixed. I'm going to try this one more time to get this thing working properly, and then if not, we'll go back the other way. Okay, we're going to give you another update on this. Fuel command center is coming back off. Anytime you let it run for 10 or 15 minutes, it starts to get hot, and I start to get foam. It starts to get foamy going back to the return to the tank. Eventually it gets so foamy, it'll start to put some out, stop, put some out, stop, put some out, stop. And it doesn't matter if you're using a mechanical pump to feed the FCC, an electric pump to feed the fuel command center. After this thing runs 10 to 15 minutes and it heats up, even with that flow going through there, you can tell the fuel coming out of the tank is getting hotter and hotter. I pour it back in the tank. Now, once I turned, what I did is I shut the truck off, and within about 2 to 3 minutes, I had a good, full, clean, solid flow going back to the tank with this little bitty pump right here running. So it took about 2 or 3 minutes, a couple minutes maybe, to get this thing cleared out, cooled off. You could feel it cooled off, and then we started having clean flow again. So I'm just gonna rip this stuff all off, run this little bitty pump to feed the pump that came, the 255 pump that came with the sniper. Mount it right here because it's a sucker pump. It'll actually primes itself and it sucks good. So I'm gonna mount it right here, run straight up to it, use the other return, and then we're gonna try that and see if that'll work. Gee willikers. Forgot to show you this. This is what I did to it to try to help it out. I took out this little filter, bronze filter. I took out the float. Oops, I just lost the screw. Which I'm never gonna need that again because it's a piece of poop. And I actually cut the needle and seat. I cut it off. So when I reinstalled it, it had a solid flow of fuel going in to feed the command center to get maximal flow that I could get. I cut that thing off so it's a straight shot. I took the little screw out of the end of the block, so there was 2 ways for fuel to come in, straight through the needle and seat, which is wide open hole, and there. So I had 2 ways to get fuel into it. It was the fitting is just a hole, just a little bit smaller than this one. This is returned. Once it fills up, it just returns full flow back to the tank, and it's a solid stream coming out of that pipe back there. So even with those modifications to keep as much fuel pumping through this with 140 gallon per hour mechanical, or this electric pump, which is only 35 gallons per hour. It gets hot, dude. That starts to foam up, and then your fuel pressure starts just gradually dropping. Your high output pressure with the 300 liter per hour pump that's in it, it just gradually starts dropping because the fuel becomes foamy. So if I want a surge tank, I got to buy one on eBay, put in two 255 liter per hour Walbros, and then we could rock and roll. But that's the next episode. Fitech Fuel Command Center fiasco. As it is from the factory, no way. It's gonna churn the fuel, superheat it, turn it to a froth. So they say, okay, return to the tank. So then you go through all the steps that are on the internet to return it to the tank, and you still get, after 10, 12, 15 minutes of running, hot fuel. What this thing needs is a tube, because it's you take the fuel, you're dumping it into the top, the pump's sucking from the bottom and recirculating the fuel that's in the smaller part of the tank at the bottom, making it super hot. Then you take the fuel that's hot out the top and send it back to the tank and return it back to the surge tank or FCC in the top, and then it goes out the top and back, and pretty soon all you got is hot fuel that's aerated and foamy, and you're returning foam and spitting and sputtering and going back to the tank, and then pretty soon it gets deep enough in there to where the pump is picking up the foam, and it's crazy. Now if you took like a tube or something and drilled and tapped, put a tube and ran the tube all the way to the bottom of the surge tank, what I'm thinking is that you could return the cool fuel that's coming back from the tank to the bottom, and the pump would pick it up, send it out the top. And then that maybe with a continuous circulation, kind of like a pump that's got new fuel flowing all the time, it might work. I just pulled the thing off. I'm going to do that mod to it and check it out at a later time and just go with the inline pump being fed by another electric pump. Cheers.